about this for an hour and a half, but I will run out of battery in 30 minutes, so that's the max I will take. I will try to squeeze as much as I can into those 10 minutes. What I want to show you is not an introduction to C# language, but rather than that, an introduction into the ecosystem around it. The most used tools, the most used words that you will hear, the confusing terms that happen because stuff keeps renaming and so on. So there's this thing called .NET, and .NET now represents what used to be .NET Core, and there's another thing that's called .NET Framework. And .NET is the multi-platform thing that you most likely want now, and .NET Framework is already installed on your system and is pretty much legacy. So if you want to download .NET, you just go to .NET, and it will open this page for you, and there's a download button. You click that, and you're immediately shown a choice. Download .NET SDK or download .NET Runtime, and that might be confusing. You, as a developer, you definitely want SDK because that's a software development kit, and it also includes the .NET Runtime. The only way when you want to download the runtime is when you create an app, build it, and you want to ship it to a different computer. But even for that, there are better choices. You can just make it a self-contained app that is basically your app plus the runtime in a single folder, automatically downloaded for you by the SDK. Another way to install .NET SDK is by installing Visual Studio, which is the most common tool for creating .NET apps. And in the older one, you have to choose a .NET Core workload. In the new one, it's just called desktop development. When you open Visual Studio, you are presented with this window, which gives you multiple choice, and you just select Create New Project. This will create both a project for you and a solution. Solution is a concept that we don't really have in PowerShell. We instead use folders, and we just put files in there, and then we maybe have like a PSM file where we link those other files. So in C# and in .NET, the solution is like a collection of CS projects, and CS projects are a collection of single CS files which hold the code. So it's a way to organize the code, so you can put together your console app, your library app, your test app, and so on. So that's a solution, and you would create a project. So it shows you this window where you have a selection of different projects. You probably will start with a console app, and that will create both the project and the solution for you, which I did here. And now I have a simple solution which has a class library, which has my code, which is like a portable way of putting your code into something, and then you can consume it from a console app, from a test app, from a web app, whatever you choose. But the logic usually belongs into a class library. That's the DLL that you will have in the end. I have very easy, very simple example. I have emoji class again, which has a name for the emoji, which is, for example, avocado, and then it has the glyph, which is the actual emoji. And then I have some emoji math, where I just have an add method. I give it two objects of the type emoji, which I just shown you, and it adds them together. It basically just concatenates the strings and returns it as a new single emoji object. Now I want to use those classes in my console app to create a console application that can run by itself. And so I want to write something here in the program. Every console app has a program which has a main method. In a very new version of .NET 6 or .NET 7, you might see just code directly in the file. That's just hiding those details from you, because those details that you see with the main are pretty much opaque, and so it just puts them away. But in this old template, we have the main method, and I write some code in it that creates new emoji object and adds them together, writes them to the console. But how do I make those types available to myself? I have to right-click this app, go to Add, go to Project Reference, select the class library to reference the project, and press OK. That makes the types available, but so far this site doesn't know about them. What is the second part of this magic is having a using. So a using says, I want this namespace to be imported into this file, so I know about it. And so now it complains about my emoji math because it doesn't know what emoji math is. There could be multiple different versions. So I either have to write the using on the top of the file, or I just press Ctrl dot to get this pop-up menu and tell it using class library 1, because Visual Studio is pretty amazing at finding the type, even if it's in a different project. I run the app and I what does this button do is that it starts the app and it attaches a debugger. And I have a breakpoint here, and it's now building for some reason. And I run to the bottom of this function, hit the breakpoint, and I can inspect what's there. I can look at the result. I can drill down into it to see what is supposed to be an avocado emoji and a unicorn emoji, and then the text that I outputted underneath it as well into the name. And then I'm writing it to the console. And for that, I use console write line. That's much like write host in PowerShell. But if I continue and look at the output, I can see that the first output is just the name of the type. And that's because C# is not as nice as PowerShell at expanding objects and working with console applications. It just returns whatever the type name is unless you expand it yourself. And so I tried to expand it myself, and I just wrote out using this expandable string, the result name and a glyph, but that's a lot of work. So why not reuse code that someone else created by using a NuGet package? So to add a NuGet package into my console app, I can right-click the project, go to Manage NuGet Packages, go to Browse, and I know I want console dump NuGet package. I install it, and that adds an extension method to every object that does this nice formatted output, even though it doesn't look that nice in this demo. And so what I need as well is another using. It will again tell me what I should use, and then I can use this extension method to dump it out to the console. The last aspect of writing a good C# app is testing it, and for that I need another type of project, which is called a test project. There are 3 flavors at least. One is for XUnit, one is for MSTest, and one is for NUnit. Those are just different frameworks, and we have different templates for the test project. You will add it again the same way as other projects. You right-click the solution, go to Add, select New Project, and you type XUnit or MSTest or unit test, and it will give you a selection of C# projects. Tests in C# are just represented as classes, and the methods on them are the actual tests. And you usually need an attribute like this one, like a fact or test in MSTest. And then I write down some code, pretty much what I had in program main. I add 2 things together and say I expect those. I do the actual addition, and then I use assert.equal or some other kind of assertion. Those ones are built into XUnit, which is the framework I'm using. In Pester, you would use should. I can run the test. For that, I need to go to Test Explorer or right-click in the file, and I can just press Run All. It runs my test, and you can already see it failed because I got the order wrong, because it expects unicorn and then avocado, but instead I gave it an avocado and then a unicorn. So let me just quickly fix my mistake by changing the expected string and add a unicorn. I can rerun the test, for example, here from the code lens, click Run, and then the test passes, and I'm done with my test and also with my demo, just right on time.